information and keep you up to speed, keep you abreast of happenings not just in Nigeria but across the world, which is why we have a segment of the Morning Express that we call Global View. But before we focus on what's happening outside the country, let's prioritize what is happening within our country, Nigeria. This is the Morning Express, 5 a.m. all the way to 11 a.m. with different segments that attend to different issues. Well, this segment of the Morning Express, 7:40 all the way to 8:30, we call it Trends in the Papers. And just like you can already tell by the title, what we do basically is focus on our newspapers, especially the headlines, and try to read out the stories that have been reported on the front pages of our dailies. We don't just read out these stories to you. Analysis also accompanies the stories that we read out. It's basically just to give you deeper understanding. Sometimes headlines can be misleading, so these analyses basically point you in the right direction. We're streaming live on our Facebook and YouTube platform. Do well to join us. Facebook.com/Mainland 98.3 FM. For YouTube is at Mainland FM. And if you do not have access to your radio at this time, you can very well listen to us via Radio Garden. Mainland 98.3 FM is how you find us on Radio Garden. My name is Sage Babalola. We have the Punch, the Guardian, and Vanguard newspaper for analysis this morning. And for the analysis that I told you that would follow these stories, Fuad side is going to bear that responsibility. Good morning, Fuad. Nice to have you on radio.
Yeah, good morning, Sage. How are you doing?
Very well, very well. I'm slowly adjusting to all of the things happening just one day into May, and the papers had so much to say yesterday. Different news outlets had so much to say yesterday regarding what has been happening across the world.
Well, it's a whole lot to deal with. I think our own reality is that, look, Nigerians are still battling fuel shortage. Yes, this supply shortage that has led to scarcity, and the queues are still there. I think many filling stations are still not selling. A lot of filling stations are still not selling. It's become extremely frustrating for ordinary Nigerians. I think we have seen several videos of people who have now turned themselves to Anthony Joshua and
the fights are terrible. I don't know if you've seen the videos. They're really, really bad.
Yeah, and trust Nigerians make some form of comedy and comic relief out of those things.
Yeah.
I think Nigerians just have a way of surviving terrible periods, things that should make us cry, we laugh over it. I'm just saying.
It's a defense mechanism, I think so. It's just like a defense mechanism. We have to protect ourselves mentally.
So Nigerians have a way of adjusting, they look at very terrible, bad situations and just find a way to walk around it by, creating some comic relief out of it. I think it won't start to affect Nigerians going, and Nigeria going generally.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's also a strategy that does not really encourage people to be held to account. Because again, we just gloss over it. People make excuses for failure, make excuses for incompetence. And we accommodate it, we welcome it, and just gloss over it. Very unfortunate.
Very unfortunate indeed. Well, speaking on a list of unfortunate things that have been happening over the past couple months, the Punch newspaper is reporting on the front page, minimum wage, federal government labor talks deadlocked. NLC defends 615,000 naira demand. Now, the ongoing negotiations for a new minimum wage have deadlocked following the inability of the federal government and organized labor to reach a consensus on the issue. President Bola Tinubu gave this indication in his speech during this year's International Workers' Day celebration in Abuja on Wednesday. Also, the President's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, in an interview with The Punch, faulted workers' insistence on the 615,000 minimum wage. He said the government and labor union had not agreed on the amount for the minimum wage. If we read the story further forward, we have information here in the Punch that the federal government and the private sector are actually moving towards 60 to 70,000. That's the amount that is being offered by the federal government, although these individuals pled anonymity because they're not yet allowed to speak on the matter. But the federal government is tilting towards 60 to 70,000 naira. The labor unions do not agree with that figure. They believe 615,000 naira is the appropriate amount for a living wage, and not just a wage that at the end of the day you have no disposable income with 70,000 naira. And remember, for what, the 13,000 naira minimum wage of the Buhari administration has elapsed or April 18 precisely. So it's long overdue. The conversation for a new minimum wage is long overdue, and at this time there has been no reasonable agreement.
Well, I think it's getting a bit confusing. There's a confusion on this minimum wage negotiations, and I'm surprised that Labour is also issuing statements, and we're getting reports that the negotiations are deadlocked. I thought that whatever we're going to be getting as information on the minimum wage negotiations will be from the tripartite committee. Because if the Labour, the government and the organized private sector have agreed to form a tripartite committee to work out what is supposed to be a reasonable minimum wage negotiation, and then we get a recommendation out. I thought that all of the comments, negotiations, and what have you, all the calculations would be at that level of the committee. And so, because it's supposed to be a joint effort, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You have the government, both the federal government, state government have a representation in that committee. You have NECA, representing the organized private sector, and then of course you have organized labor, civil society organizations all coming together, to do the work, to do the calculations and look at something that is reasonable. Again, putting factors like the cost of living at this time, the purchasing power of the naira at this time, concerns about inflation, if salaries are to go too high, and then you have too much money in circulation, changing fewer goods, So all of those economic reasons, economic principles and things are put on the table. Negotiations are done in good spirit, good spirit. And then I thought that, look, by this time, all we should be waiting for is a recommendation from the tripartite committee. But I think, like what we've done with several committees, we just set up a committee, we don't follow it through, there are no good intentions to it, we just do it for the sake of doing something or for fulfilling all righteousness. And my mind tells me, hey, and I think I've said it several that the organized labor at this time has to be a bit more circumspect. They have to put on their thinking cap, maybe a bit more strategic. They are doing their minimum wage negotiations. Well, they're not going to get anything out of this negotiation. Because again, I'm already seeing a tendency from the government to box them into a corner, to make even the negotiations extremely difficult. And unfortunately, the labor is not even showing enough thinking as to how to get these negotiations done. For example, this figure they are putting around is unrealistic. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to pay $6.15 or how much are they saying at minimum wage. So, and the thing is already looking like a comedy circus. See, it's almost looking like a joke. These kinds of negotiations are supposed to be done with serious, clear intentions to get things done and negotiations achieved. But if you continue to throw figures that are unrealistic around, people are probably going to be seeing you as not really serious about getting things done. By now, I would have thought that all of the efforts would be at the tripartite committee. Get your negotiations done, come with a realistic figure, like I said, putting all of the economic indices to play, and then let us move on with this particular thing. And don't say, for example, I'm giving a hit, into what it intends to pay. I mean, because they said 70,000. And I said that, look, since the organized labor in Edo State, because the report was that the labor unions in Edo State welcomed that 70,000 naira proposal and even celebrated it. So what then are we talking about? Even though the negotiations are going to be at state level or whatever level we're talking about, the fact that the laborers in Edo State agreed to that 70,000, my mind tells me that that could be the standard. Remember that when other states were paying 30,000 minimum, Edo State was doing 40,000. You understand? Yeah. And there were states that were not doing up to 30,000 naira. So, you see, this entire minimum wage thing for me is looking so unserious. I think government having an upper hand in trying to manipulate and of course work around the lack of capacity and good thinking of organized labor, and I think labor are not getting serious about getting these negotiations done and over with. But whatever I see, I know whatever labor is saying in terms of their figure is not realistic. So nobody's going to pay them that money. Even if the heavens fall, it will not happen. And so my mind tells me, I said, if they get anything above 60, 70, anything close to 100,000, they would have done a good job in negotiating their way through getting something decent for Nigerian workers. But we wait to see what happens to that. They have given it a May 31st deadline now.
Yes.
And so what would they do by May 31? Nothing is agreed on. They will start to try to get
a peaceful protest, I believe. That's usually the last
consistently there are peaceful protests and all of those things are not work. And the government have been very consistent about the strategy to neutralize those types of actions. 24 hours to that action, they will speak to them, and then later, I think Nigerians are already seeing labor, the organized labor, the leadership of the organized labor at this time are so unserious. People are losing faith in them. They are losing trust in them. Nobody takes them serious again. They just see them as people who back and are not ready to fight. Whereas they will be able to back and fight at the same time. But it's not looking like that.
All right then. Well, just for clarity, an anonymous source has said that the government is offering 60 to 70,000 naira, but the NLC, the TUC are insisting 615,000 naira. Hence the reason for the deadlock and why we've not gotten any reasonable resolution at this time regarding minimum wage. That's that particular story. It is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Please be aware that we are streaming the program live on our Facebook platform, so please do well to join us, facebook.com/mainland 98.3 FM, or like I advised, just go to Facebook, search mainland 98.3 FM, and then click on the live stream. This is very advantageous to you because you at least get to drop your submission in real time. So as we get through every story, it actually grants you the opportunity to drop your comments on each story as we go along. So when we open the phone line and start to take public contributions, even on social media, we're able to go back to the messages that you've dropped and read them live on air. This is Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. I'm Sage Babalola. I'm talking to Fᴜʟʟ, and together we're reviewing the Punch newspaper. Moving to other stories now. Fuel scarcity. Federal government begins 15-day emergency fuel supply. The story reads, as fuel scarcity continues to bite harder in different locations, the federal government says it has begun a 15-day emergency fuel supply to ensure the commodity circulates across the length and breadth of the country. The Major Energies Marketers Association of Nigeria had, in a statement on Tuesday, said its members in Apapa and other locations in Lagos have been receiving 300 million litres of fuel from 8 vessels this week. This was after the Southwest Regional Coordinator of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Ayo Kadoso, confirmed to one of our correspondents that aside from the 240 million litres offloaded at various depots on Monday, close to 85 million litres of petrol were offloaded as of Tuesday evening, although we can still observe that there are still queues at the filling station and the queues have not at all reduced. But we are getting confirmation for what that the product is now available. So a 15-day emergency supply has started, and with regards to the information we got previously that some states are being prioritized over others, or the FCT is being prioritized over others, Ayo Kadoso is debunking that. He's saying each state has a specified allocation and each state is going to get the specified allocation. So that's the update for on the fuel scarcity issue.
Okay, so after the 15 days emergency supply and everything gets normal, when would the next one happen? The next one start?
That's a very big
I would have liked to ask the man, the NMPCB, so that we can prepare ourselves now. You don't understand. It's almost like a ritual, maybe to quarterly ritual. So after this emergency distribution, after all the sufferings of Nigerians, needless avoidable suffering, and all of the destruction that have happened to businesses and the lives of ordinary Nigerians, and then of course they go into all of this narrative of emergency distribution, blah blah blah. There's enough supply, there's not enough supply, or there's a logistic problem, and then of course after 15 days, that's like half of the month of May now, Nigerians will have to grapple with this shortage, and then of course suffer through the quality time at filling stations. I'm not a producing nation, no. We are not talking about any other country. We are talking about a country that has crude oil, blessed with crude oil. But because of lack of capacity, incompetence, and corruption, we have to suffer this again for another 15 days. And of course, everything comes back to normal. But it would have been nice to ask them again, so that we can prepare ourselves. When would the next one happen? Since as a nation, we are not ready to do what we need to do to ensure we don't continue to go through this embarrassing situation. Because again, or you think it will never happen again?
I mean, never say never. We get that. As long as we don't fix the foundational problem, it most likely will happen again. But maybe we should just highlight that they're at least trying to take care of this current situation that we're in.
We have highlighted that, but don't you think we should also begin to think ahead that it will happen again and then prepare ourselves?
How do you prepare for that, Fuad, as an average person? You're not in the midstream or downstream sector.
No, they will tell us now. They will tell us that another one will happen. This is the idea that you guys to prepare maybe by that around August. We'll also have the same logistic problem. Yeah, then so that people can, you don't understand what I'm saying. If you cannot prepare for positive things, prepare for negative things now. If you have people you are put in position of authority, who are not able to do the right thing, and they keep you through needless suffering and pain, it will not be wrong for you to now ask them about just things on. Now that after 15 days, the thing will return to normal, like you have said. But when will the next one happen? So you think I'm asking a very ridiculous question?
There's no answer to that, Fuad. You know there's nobody that would answer that question. They're definitely not going to acknowledge that there's the possibility of another scarcity coming.
But you know it will happen, it will not happen. But you believe it will happen.
Obviously it's going to. We have a foundational problem.
Hey, but it will not for us to know when it will happen now.
Okay.
So that we prepare. You know, if I will know, we prepare our minds that, Nigeria, first scarcity will happen again in August. So we can go and prepare. So that's not the reality of Nigeria. I'm sorry to say. It's a ritual. We are not ready. We are not fixing the problem. We are not holding anybody to account. There are no consequences for it. If you remember what you talked about it now, when the bad fuel was imported into the country, did he punish anybody?
No.
We didn't punish anybody. There are no consequences for bad behavior. And consequence management as a strategy is zero. So people do things with impunity. They don't even care. And unfortunately, these guys that put us through these pains and suffering are overfed. They are overpaid, overpampered. They are not ordinary Nigerians who say, if you want to understand what I'm saying. These guys live large on the nation. They take humongous salary allowances, extra codes for doing nothing, only to come out every day to give excuses for failure for Nigeria. And we are accommodating. We are welcoming them. Instead of fighting them, we fight ourselves in this nation, beat ourselves up. Instead of querying them, instead we vent our anger on ourselves as ordinary people. Whereas the anger should go to people who are so incompetent to put us through this kind of suffering every now and then. So that's why I'm saying that since we are welcoming of this level of incompetence, lack of capacity and good things, let us ask them, after 15 days, when will the next catastrophe happen? So that we can prepare ourselves.
Well, basically, you just expect that make forex available to those you granted licenses to in the interim, whilst you actively or simultaneously fix the refineries. If we're able to activate these things, it will help us in the long run.
You know refinery. You know you are one of the.
I'm just being an optimist, Fuad.
Okay, optimism, fantastic. I'm an optimist. You think I'm a pessimist?
I don't think
so.
You
think I don't want this to happen?
I don't think so, but I'm just trying to be optimistic.
Wait now. The last time military appeared before the National Assembly, he gave us a timeline for Port Harcourt refinery to work. What was that timeline?
April.
We are in which month now?
It's still April somewhere, Fuad. Still April somewhere in the world.
You know, I said that day when he said, "Hey, it's Port Harcourt work, blah blah blah." I think consistent. We all do respect to determine the theory. I think what it does is that whenever it's someone, either it goes there without any official document. I think he also understands that all of these National Assembly summons and all of that really does not amount to anything. So what he does basically is to just tell them what they want to hear, because he knows that whenever he sees what they want to hear and that does not happen, nobody holds him to account. I know nations where public officials will not dare do half of the things they do to us in Nigeria. You keep giving promises and you would have look. The public will pressure and ensure that you are removed from that position. Consistent pressure will happen for you to get out of that position, because you don't joke with people's lives and livelihood. But I said it that when you say April, you remember a mechanical completion.
Mechanical completion.
Was in December. And I said that, look, how do you tell Nigerians, after you promise Nigerians that by December 2023, Port Harcourt refinery will start working, then only for you in that December to announce mechanical completion, and then you started speaking English at 70%, and at least I know that there will be electrical components of that refinery. So if you are saying mechanical, what has happened to electrical? You just know that these guys are just in a circle of disease. Because, okay, look at Dangote refinery. Yesterday now, they said they are still expecting to give operational license to Dangote refinery. That what was given was a license for pre-commissioning. As we speak, Dangote is struggling to even get enough food supply.
He's importing.
Sorry?
He's importing.
He's importing. So You remember when the issue of subsidy is gone came?
Yeah.
And then the NNPC told us that, oh, we are deregulating the entire sector now. It's going to be about market forces, demand and supply. Oh, the filling stations will have to determine whatever price they want to sell. They are taking their hands off. We have now issued licenses to people to not bring this prices. It is all lies. It will not happen. How many months after all of those announcements now, the NNPCL is still the only one bringing this well, and as we speak today, they are still regulating prices of PMS in Nigeria. So where are the market forces?
What? I'll just take that as a rhetorical question. It's on page 27 of the Punch newspaper. This is still trends in the papers on mainland 98.3 FM. Moving forward, we have here also on the front page of the Punch, government expenditure rose by 33% in February, according to MPC member. We have the federal government's expenditure increased by 33.5% in February, according to a member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Bamidele Amao, in his statement from the MPC meeting, which was held between March 25 and 26, 2024, said the figure was more than what was spent in January, but 13.8% below the target. This increase is despite directives given by the President Bola Tinubu to reduce the cost of governance. The President had directed a 60% reduction of his entourage size for domestic and international travel, and also the Office of the First Lady is now limited to 10 staff members to accompany her on official trips within the country. But despite these measures, government spending did not reduce. But Fuad, there is an addendum of some sort. They're also saying, yeah, despite this increase in expenditure, correct, we also had an increase in capital inflow. We also had organizations of government declaring profit. So I believe that was an attempt to sort of balance it out, that as much as we're spending a lot, we also recorded a lot of revenue and capital inflow.
You know, as a developing economy, spending can never be the problem. You need to spend your way out of economic issues. You have a lot of infrastructure deficits and a whole lot of things to attend to. So expenditure should not actually be the problem, because you expect that developing economies are supposed to continue to put in money, to solve a lot of problems. You understand? Even the developed economies will tell you that, look, all of this, if you look at the United States budget, for example, it's almost times 10 of the current budget of the country. And they do that year in, year out. The big question is, what are we spending the money on? The expenditure is not the problem for me. Like I said, you can't be a developing economy with a lot of infrastructure deficits, with all of these challenges, and not have to spend a lot of money. You need to put in money into a whole lot of things, of course, to revamp the economy and all of that. But are we really judicious spending the money? That expenditure that has been captured, what did we spend it on? That's a big question for me. You don't understand. I know the people don't have the breakdown of what was captured in that expenditure pattern. But can we tell ourselves in real truth that indeed, when we spend all of this money, we are putting the money into things that would save the fortunes of the country for the good? Because it's not about, we've always had this argument about whether our problem is revenue or do we have a spending or revenue problem. Why we keep talking about our spending problem is that, look, we put money into things that are not useful. Reckless spending, fraudulent procurement here and there. And that's why some of us get excited with this aggressive revenue drive of government. Because at the end of the day, by the time you do a critical analysis of the spending and expenditure of government, you see that at the end of the day, these things are just frivolous. They are not things that can have direct impact on the living standards of the people. They will tell me that I'm trying to go this way now. Okay, what kind of spending pattern is a budget of 6 billion in car park for national?
But where will they park their car? If they bought new cars, where will they park?
The car park they have now, what's wrong?
There's car there already. There's no space.
They want to expand.
Yes, there's no space.
So they have cars, they don't move, they just keep it there.
They have
so when you want, or they are buying more cars, that's what they are saying.
Are they not buying more cars? They're buying the SUVs, right? The new SUVs.
No, what I said is that this existing car park that they have, what is wrong with it?
It's too small.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. They are not buying bigger cars.
Yes.
From the resources of Nigeria that is being said to be scarce at this time.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I understand now. It's good to always seek clarification for people that you know. I know you are very close to some of these people, so
please, I don't know. I don't know them. I'm going through it, please.
You want me to tell people what I think about you?
I'm
With the big boys.
I'm not close to anybody, please, Fado, because we'll open the phone line now and I can be now.
Yeah,
And Professor Kovako will come now, please. Well,
so
that's it for
really
that
about
part.
the revenue. What are we putting money into? What are we spending to this on? That's a big question for me. You know.
Well, that is on page 28 of the Punch newspaper. Again, a quick recap. We're spending way too much, 33.5% increase in expenditure. But they're also telling us, yeah, we're spending a lot of money, but our revenue also grew. Our oil and non-oil revenue grew a lot. We have capital inflow. We're also making a lot of money. So it should be okay that we are spending that amount of money.
Has it reflected yet in the life of the ordinary people?
That's the question. That's the important question there. All right. Well, still on the front page of the Punch, we have here Lagos uncovers under-bridge apartment where tenants pay 250,000 naira rent. I saw this and I was trying to make sense of it for it. It just didn't make sense to me. But let me read it for those who probably didn't catch the story. The Lagos State Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, on Wednesday said the government discovered an apartment under the Dolphin Estate Bridge Ikoyi where tenants pay 250,000 naira annual rent. According to the commissioner, the underbridge apartment has 86 partition rooms, sized 10 by 10 and 12 by 10. Wahab shared the information via a post on X on Wednesday. He says, and I'm quoting, "They have all been removed by the enforcement team of the Lagos State Ministry of Environment and Water Resources. A special advisor to Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Kunle Rotimi Akodu, further confirmed the eviction of illegal settlers from beneath the bridge towards Dolphin Estate in Ikoyi, and they've made several arrests during the eviction process as well." So, Fuad, help me make sense of this scenario, right? They somehow are renting apartments under the bridge. These apartments, by the way, are built with wood sections, 10 by 10, 12 by 10, 86 rooms, and they are paying rent 250,000. First things first, rent to whom? Is what I'm trying to understand. Who owns the land? Who built these apartments? Why do they pay rent?
Those are the real Lagos landlords now. You don't know.
How do you pay rent for an apartment made of wood under a bridge?
I can see you're a bourgeoisie. You don't understand.
I do understand, Fad. I don't know what's happening. It's weird. I don't understand it.
Okay, I don't know. I'll take you around Lagos.
I should go for excursion, honestly. This
it's very important for you. You just have to go around to understand, the things that I have. The funny thing is that I'm surprised that the government is just discovering that things are happening under the Dolphin Bridge. It's not even easy. It's not easy. In fact, you will see the things clearly that there are people who want to live in under the bridge, the Dolphin. In fact, I'm surprised that it's just making the news and then the Commission for Environment is just discovering it. I'm surprised that it's even saying that it's a big shock that they have about 80-something units of apartments demarcated and people are paying. Lagos have become a state where we should talk about the activities of street urchins, agri-rules, cows, miscreants. They've taken over the city. And to a great extent, they took over the city with so much impunity. That thing that you have said cannot be done by ordinary people. Those are, miscreants, cows, elements who are taking over that bridge. And they do it with so much impunity. Because they know that, look, there are really no consequences for this. Recently we talked about people who now stay on pedestrian bridges and collect money from people for pedestrians trying to use the bridge. Even if you go into market now, you have people who are harassing innocent Nigerians who are working hard to earn a living, collecting all manner of money and fees from them. Recently, we have a friend, one of our guys, who is into outdoor advertising, to put on their billboards now has become a problem because of agri-rules and grants and staff harassing their officials and staff. Look, somebody who made a document for government setback that somebody is going to pay about 4.5 million naira to erect a government setback in this Lagos. You don't understand what they mean by setback. Those setback, because they want to mount a billboard there. The person did a document in his own name, sending the advertiser to come and pay 4.5 million naira on a government setback.
Is it your daddy's land?
In this same Lagos.
Is it for his daddy?
He said he's the one that is controlling the setback on behalf of government.
Since the occur.
I'm not surprised. See, that is what Lagos has become.
Fuad, I'm sorry, I apologize. Help me understand. Why would you be willing to pay 250,000 naira to live under the bridge? It's a question because there are. I mean, the apartments are expensive, but there are places that 150,000 you get a decent apartment somewhere that's not under the bridge.
Now, let me tell you why. You know, Lagos has become so big. The population. Look, you can't have a city with such small land size. With over 20 million persons. And if you look at the way people, you know, we keep talking about the functional mega city. And I'm sure the person that has the capacity to pay 250,000 naira a year, pay for a cubicle or some sort in this, because the reason is the centrality of that location. It's easier for them maybe to navigate through and do whatever they want to. Right. Somebody that is paying 250,000 naira has a relatively decent job. When I say relatively, he has the source of income. He just needs somewhere to stay. 250,000 naira now stay for a room apartment cannot be anywhere in central Lagos. You have to go outside into far-flung parts of Lagos. Maybe all of these people, Ìkọ̀tún, maybe Badagry, and what have you. And so if you have somebody who is earning something, it's not too big, and he has to work, he needs somewhere central. That's why we are talking about effective public transportation system. Say, with 250,000 naira, say, you can rent a decent mini flat in the outskirts of Lagos.
Yes.
But just imagine that you have a train service that can bring you to CMN within 1 hour. Effective. You're going to take the option. But because people will look at it, you know that there are people who stay in the office. They sleep in their office.
Yes.
Just because of the issue of cost of transportation, the fact that look sometimes even when they can pay for public transportation, traffic in the city is so excruciating, they'll get late to work. So that's why we talk about, when you talk about a functional society, a functional society takes care of the needs of the poor, the middle class, and those at the highest level of the society. So the guy that is paying 250,000 naira to stay under a bridge, if you ask them questions to understand why they have to take that terrible option, I'm not sure they are missed. I'm not sure those guys that are paying. I'm not talking about the people that created the room. So, but those that are paying, if you go and ask them questions to understand why that has to be the option for them. But it shouldn't be the option really in a city like Lagos, because what the come with today will be security. But that's the story of some Lagosians. There are people who do that in Lagos. And it's not just that bridge alone. If you go to other parties, you understand. Go to Ijora, Apapa, Badia, and what is going on under most of the bridge.
Well,
that's the story of Lagos.
That's on page 38 of the Punch newspaper. They've been evicted. I don't know. Is the government mandated to provide an alternative for these people, or they just throw them to the
government is not compelled. Government is not compelled to provide an alternative.
Okay, they can choose to, but they don't have to.
No. The government should create the enabling environment for people to live a decent life. That's what we're saying. Create good public transportation system. Let people be able to navigate within and outside of the city easily. It's not rocket science. Hey. Look, why must everybody cram themselves into central part of Lagos? It is because there is no effective public transportation system. You understand what I'm saying? Look at the BRT service, for example. Ask people who are staying in Ikorodu. A lot of the buses have not been maintained. So they stay at the bus stop for 2-3 hours. The buses are not coming. The yellow buses are not the best option, really. Because of the risky nature of the buses, they are so unsafe. They keep putting people's lives in danger. If you can't say you have a mega city and then you have this chaotic public transportation system, you understand what I'm saying? Yes. It's not what it is. Lagos has got the potential to be the Dubai of Africa. Lagos can be the Singapore of Africa. I know what I'm saying. But the leadership is not there. That's all the fact.
Quite unfortunate. Page 38, like I said before, of the Punch newspaper. We also have Agric import gulp 12 trillion naira. despite 9-year anchors borrower scheme. Nigeria spent 11.6 trillion naira on the importation of agricultural products during the 9-year period, which it spent over 1.1 trillion on the Central Bank of Nigeria's led Anchors Borrowers Program and other intervention in the agricultural sector. And this is according to an analysis of the foreign trade statistics published by the National Bureau of Statistics between 2016 and 2023. Now, let's look at a quick breakdown of what we imported with the bulk of this money. Now, the breakdown shows that the highest volume of agri imports recorded in 2021, 2023, and 2022, with major items imported: durum wheat from the United States, Canada, Argentina, Lithuania, and Latvia. They also include crude palm oil from China and Malaysia. We also
palm oil.
Yes,
palm oil.
yes, we did. And then herring, that's the fish, the herring fish, was imported from the Netherlands as well. And we could only manage agri export worth 3 to 4 trillion during the 7-year period, leaving a balanced trade of 8.1 trillion. Let's even forget all the financial aspect of this. That might be a little overwhelming, but let's focus on the fact that we imported wheat, we imported palm oil, crude palm oil, we also imported fish into the country. That's what we spent our money.
You know the story of Nigeria with Malaysia and palm oil.
Tell us
how it was. How it was reported that the first time Malaysians would get the stealing of palm oil was from Nigeria in the 70s. And the story today is that Nigeria is the second largest importer of palm oil from Malaysia from Malaysia. And they discovered the seed here in Nigeria. So one of the palm settlements was created, for example, where are they? And there's an important part of the story. How much was spent on the Anchor Borrowers Fund to help with agriculture?
1.1 trillion.
Did you get anything from it?
No, the farmers have not even returned the money. They've jacked with their money.
Half of the money has still not been returned, because again, by the time you dig deep into the Anchor Borrowers Fund under a making, you see all manner of fraudulent borrowings and all of that. Passing and giving it. I'm sure there are people who have no farmland anywhere or any farm that got the money. I am very, very, by the time you dig deep, and that's why they can't even return the money.
Didn't they screen
Instead
them?
of even focus, remember that instead of focusing on farming, they were busy buying farm for a mayfailing.
Is it right now that bought him from now for president?
Instead of them using the money to go and farm rice. Look, I can tell you, there's a particular place in Badagry that I discovered a World Bank rice support farm project. And no rice is being planted there. And they were getting World Bank support for a rice farm. Monies were going into it and nothing was being farmed. There's nothing practically. But there's a picture, a very big signboard that this is the rice farm supported by the World Bank. And they were not farming anything. So it still goes back to what we've been talking about. Apart from the fact that, look, in recent time, agriculture has been a bit problematic because of insecurity. Really, the farmers are having tough time going back to their farms, the issue of banditry, the kidnapping, and what else. But in reality, we are not really being intentional about getting back to the farm. Look at the arable land, the price of arable land we have in the country. So I'm not surprised. And that's why when we talked about the opportunities we have in the agricultural sector, look at the balance of trade, for example, between import and export when it comes to agri-produce. And you expect your naira to do well. You can't do well when you have that imbalance in your international trade when it comes to agri-produce. You actually be importing more than even exporting. Whether there should be a balance, or even there should be more in terms of export and import. We have the potential to. We're even importing food.
Yeah. I mean, if not because of the oil exploration that we're doing in the Niger Delta, have destroyed the water and everything, we would have been able to take care of our aquatic, sector.
It's aquatic sector.
You've destroyed it now with oil.
It's not about that. Even where there's no oil, what are we really doing? So I'm not surprised. That's why the story of Malaysia is there. How they discovered, palm kernel seedling, palm oil seedling, and then of course they took it back and then invested everything. Look at the story of Poland, for example, Netherlands, and what they've been able to do with dairy products. See, the mainstay of their economy, because they don't even have the land. Most of Poland is on reclaimed land, but they have to sit down. They have to get purposeful leadership to know that, okay, what else can we do? And they are doing well within their own confines. I think there's even a country, say, that lives only on banana, the big one, plantain.
Oh, wow.
I think it's Costa Rica. It's a country, yes, I think Costa Rica. That's what they do. They sit down, do it, put a lot of money, get very intentional about it, and they are doing well with it. But look at all of the opportunities God has given us. We have crude oil, we have solid mineral resources, we have arable land. That's why people will tell you that Nigeria has no business with poverty, with what God has given to us, with the opportunity. We even have good weather. How many natural disasters do we face in the country?
The flood would never even cause something. Even the flood is
Because
we are the one that caused it.
I'm not surprised. It's a very good report so that Nigerians will understand that, look, it's not just to pay lip service, to continue to talk about this. We'll do agricultural revolution, we'll do we keep talking about this.
Yeah.
We see too many templates, government after government, but nothing gets done. We can feed ourselves. If we put our minds into doing what we should do, we can feed ourselves and even feed the rest of Africa. But it's not going to come from here. We have to do the hard work. The hard work must be done, which we are not doing.
It's on page 28 of the Punch newspaper. We have the story here. Lagos-Calabar Highway government fault landmark title begins 2.7 billion naira compensation payments. Now, the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, has faulted landmark group shoreline title, stating that the shoreline never belonged to the property company. He faulted landmark group shoreline title at a stakeholders meeting and said, and I quote, "A lot of people have been sending in messages as it concerns them. It's like a football match, but each team are praying to win. Since we came on Thursday, we have been going through every route. The coastal line from shore 250 meter by the Supreme Court judgment belongs to the federal government, and I'm talking in particular to landmark. Come to think of it, there is none of his infrastructure that is affected. I agree there are some people in the sublet relationship, but the shoreline was never given to Landmark by the Oniru family." But the minister further said, "To show sympathy for people who voted Mr. President, we will do everything possible to pay human face to the compensation. And today we are paying over 2 billion naira in compensation just from Channel O to Channel 3. So far, the conversation and the controversy with Landmark, the demolition for the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway continues. And now Dave Umahi is saying the shoreline doesn't even belong to you in the first place. The point of we trying to compensate you is just to put a human face to the demolition of some of the shanties and properties along the shoreline. But the controversy still continues.
Well, see, this is a very sensitive matter. It's become some form of fight.
Yeah.
On social media, it has taken ethnic coloration. And because of what Mr. Obi, who also recently made a statement as to the misplaced priority that has come with the project, has also been dragged into this particular conversation. Mr. Dave Umahi is still on his own path of trying to defend the indefensible. But again, those are his choices. He has the right to defend whatever he wants to defend. And then, of course, you have other Nigerians now who have now brought ethnic coloration to this particular conversation. Oh, there are people who on social media will say, "Oh, it's because the man is an Igbo." You have even people who are posting. I find that ridiculous anyway.
I'm sorry for us. They're even accusing Peter Obi of inciting the Southeast against the federal government.
That's from Mr. Dave Umahi.
Yeah.
I'm going to get there. And then you also have people who are now posting, "Invest in Lagos at your own peril. Invest in Lagos, blah, blah, blah." And then, of course, there's the ethnic dimension that has come to say that, oh, this is being exposed and all of that. As I said, it's a very sensitive matter. Now, I'm going to address it. Let me first start with Landmark. I remember when Landmark was going to, that particular project, that report, was going to be developed. And then you had the 3D design. There was this media palace. Then I was the editor of one of the premier property magazines in this Lagos. So I was really fortunate to view the developmental milestone of the Landmark project. Things that were to be done. The construction, what was going to be, and all of that. So I understand the amount of investment and good thinking that went into that project. And I expect that, look, a $200 million project will get all the necessary approvals. And when we talk about approvals, I don't think somebody will put a facility that is as good as that without also getting an inclination into future development plans around that area. The Lekki Coastal Road is not a new project, to say. It's never a new project. It's a project that has always been in the works. The project that has been talked about ever, even before some of these projects that are now affected. But there are also questions as to, was the road supposed to pass where it's passing now, or there was a different route? That's a question that up till now we have not really gotten clear answers to. That this right of way that the road is now passing, was it the initial plan or something with the plan? Number one. Number two, if you have a beach resort, say a beach resort, you call it a beach resort. There's a reason why you built it on the beach, Abby.
Yes.
And then you don't have a beach front. What happens to that beach resort?
Yes, is there B&B now? B&B now, it has not been B&B because
the landmark was built along the shoreline because of that access to the beach line, right?
Yeah.
And people get to who owns the 250 meters to the shoreline or not. They're going to get it. But you don't invest $200 million to build a beach resort, and then suddenly you are told that, look, you have no access again to the beachfront. What will happen to your investment?
Down the drain.
Because the hypocrisy of none of his properties being affected. Sorry. Such properties don't exist in isolation. There's a reason why that property, that investment, was built on the beach on the beach in the first place, so as to have access to the beachfront. Now you are going to take the beachfront away from him. He knows that. Look, would you go to a beach resort when you don't have a beachfront to access it?
You carry your own water.
To go and sit down well.
Yeah, no, you carry your own water with
even if the man now decides to create swimming pool and everything, it doesn't still come with the natural feel that you get from the beach. In fact, that landmark beach, I've always said it a few times. I've gone there. See, I've always said that even the waves are not as active again because of all of the sand filling, all of the embankments that have been done from the Atlantic Sea. So you get there, you don't even get the waves. So say that's cool, but I know what the beach is. When you get to a beach, the waves, you understand, the breeze and everything, the natural, ambience that you get from the beach. You really don't get it even from the landmark because of the way sand filling the embankments have been done. Now the road is going to take away the entire bridge. The man knows that the business is going down the drain. That's why it's shouting. And then the issue of 250 meters, we know that is the law. It belongs to the federal government. So I'm not sure the man will claim ownership of the beachfront. The question would be, what would happen to my investment? And also I say that it is true that the design was supposed to go to somewhere else. Why? And that is why I say. That is why I say. Some of us have been questioning the hurry by which the federal government is doing this project. I'm not even interested in compensation. Yes, the law of the land says that, look, even properties that you have title to can be taken away from you if it's for overriding public interest. And the only thing you get is compensation from government. That is what the law says.
Fuad, we're out of time.
Case, just 1 minute thing. The question is, where is the electricity coming from all of this nonsense? I still say, the question on the Lagos-Calabar Road project about due process, why the hurry? Why was there no competitive bidding? Then let Mr. ᴘᴜᴜ come and tell us that project was captured in the budget. We are not saying it's not an important. I'm a Lagosian, so I'm not even an Igbo man. So at least they cannot accuse me that I'm a Lagosian, I'm a Yoruba man, and I know the importance of that project. But the question is, why the hurry? Why was there no competitive bidding? And then why is everything done in secrecy? Why a lot of why on that particular project? And that's why it's now become a complete mess.
Fuad,
I would say that project will be completed. That particular project.
Fuad, when we come back at 8:40, we can spare some time to further discuss this before we open the phone line. But then, very briefly for The Guardian, we have Telcos loses irregular levy remittance, threatening NCC's 549 billion naira target. PDP chides Aiyedatiwa for budgeting 5 billion naira to renovate daycare centers. We have duty exchange rate fueling uncertainty, adjusted 28 times in 2020. 2024 first quarter, says CPPE. And PDP rallies aggrieved members, targets 2027 presidency. 10 years after, the shame of Chibok lingers on government. That's what the Guardian newspaper has for us, and that's actually all we can take for trends in the papers. 8:40, we'll be back for Mainland Focus. It's Open Mic Thursday. Please stick around.
Build a hard water shield cement now confirm.
Hey, Oga, we don ready to start the foundation.
Say everything done set?
Yes, sir. Wetin remain now na to buy granite, sand, iron rods, concrete blocks,